Hey guys, it's Amy Jennings back with you this week here online. I hope you guys are finding encouragement and feeling connected through these videos, whether as an individual or as a whole family. So I wanted to share with you guys something this week that I've been thinking about. Something my family enjoys doing is getting outside. And even more so during this time of quarantine, we have been trying to get outside almost every day, no matter how cold it is. We've been bundling up and going for a bike ride or a walk around our neighborhood, or maybe going to a local park. And something that I've been really trying to stop and do is take in God's creation, take in the beauty of God's creation that I'm surrounded by. Let it soak in a sense. And as we were on our walk yesterday as a family, I was taking a picture of a small, delicate white flower. It was the only one, and it was surrounded by all of these dead brown leaves on the ground. And as I was taking a picture of it, and just the sunshine that was shining down on us, and the wind that was blowing, I was just overwhelmed by the beauty of God's creation and how it's so faithfully around us every day. But almost at the same time I was thinking that, this other thought struck me of how much pain and suffering there is in our world. For so many people right now, they are experiencing financial, emotional, mental, physical stress right now. And maybe they have been for a while, and this situation is just making it worse. There's a lot of pain, suffering, loss in our world. And there's also a lot of depravity. We know that God created this world perfect, but it has been broken by sin. And so as I was thinking about these two things that are such a stark contrast to each other, God's beauty and the depravity here on earth, the pain and the suffering that our world, people experience. And so this question arose in my heart, like, how do you reconcile those two things? How do you reconcile the absolute beauty of God and the depravity that our world has in it, the pain and the suffering? And God, as He always so faithfully does, just His Spirit whispers in my heart, Jesus is in the beauty and the pain. The Bible tells us that all things were created through Jesus. Nothing was created without Him. So if you stop and think of the most beautiful thing that you have ever seen in all of creation, Jesus created that. It was created through Him. Jesus is the absolute of beauty. And then I was thinking, well, what about pain? Well, Jesus is the only God who ever willingly stepped down from His throne in heaven to come here and experience the pain and the suffering that was present on earth. He was surrounded by depravity. He knew hunger, betrayal, injustice. He was beaten, mocked. He was nailed to a cross. He suffered a criminal's punishment. God, Jesus, He knew pain and suffering. And so Jesus is both beauty. He's in the beauty and He is in the pain. Jesus is what reconciles those two things. He is the one who brings us back to God the Father, who knows our every need, who provides everything we need. Jesus is the answer to that question. He is what reconciles beauty and pain. And Jesus is meant to bring healing and wholeness and beauty to our lives. God, when He rescues us through Jesus, He does not leave us how we are, but He makes all things beautiful in His time. He transforms us. So I want to share 2 verses with you guys that speaks about this idea. The first is found in Psalm 85, verse 11, and it says, "Faithfulness springs up from the ground, and righteousness looks down from the sky." And so if you stop and think about God's creation, think about that small white flower that I saw yesterday that had sprung up from the ground. Everything in God's creation is meant to point us to Him. When we see a flower that has sprung up fresh and new, we can think of God's faithfulness. He makes all things new in Himself. And then righteousness looks down from the sky. When we look at the sky, at nighttime we see the vast amount of stars, and that God knows all of those stars by name. We see every morning the sunrise and sunset every evening, and the beauty of those colors displayed before us. We can think of God's righteousness. His creation is a gift to us, so it can point us to His character and who He is and how He makes all things beautiful. And then the next verse I wanted to share that many of you are very familiar with is Hebrews 4, verse 15 and 16. And it says, "For we do not have a high priest who is unable to sympathize with our weaknesses, but one who in every respect has been tempted as we are, yet without sin. Let us then, with confidence, draw near to the throne of grace, that we may receive mercy and find grace to help in time of need." Jesus is with us in the pain. He can sympathize with us because He has experienced it Himself. God works in our lives through Jesus to make us a beautiful display of His glory. And we can, in our pain and suffering, boldly go to His throne and ask for help and grace. Grace is God's power and His beauty and His goodness working in our lives and helping us to be a display of His goodness, of His character. So I hope you guys are encouraged by these words, and I hope you're inspired to get outside, take a walk, stop and slow down to see the beauty that is around us every single day. And if you can't get outside, maybe just go sit by a window and just look out at God's creation. You can do this as an individual, but you can also invite your kids in to do this. Point out to your kids the wonder and the amazement of what God has created. And then the wonder and amazement that we find in the person and work of Jesus. All right, guys, I love you. I'm praying for our church family, and I know God is faithful to be with us in our pain and suffering.